Hello, I'm Natasha from Natasha Smart Textiles. Welcome to my channel where I share tutorials and techniques and talk about all things wet felting. I'm a textile artist and I teach online wet felting courses and in-person workshops from my studio here in Devon in the UK. And if you haven't seen it already, I've also written a book called Wet Felting. Now, I've tried lots of different wet felting techniques since I first started back in 2005, but the technique that's gripped me most is felting on a ball. Now, you can find full instructions in my online courses and book about how to use a ball to create different wet felted projects, some of which you can see here. But even before you get to that stage, I'm often asked about the balls that I use, how to get hold of them, how to care for them, and even how to inflate them. So in this video, I thought I'd talk you through everything you need to know about the felting balls that I use, including the particular features that they offer to help you get started if you fancy having a go at this technique. And also to help you get the best results from your felting on a ball projects. So let's have a look at what a felting ball is and what it's used for. I've got one here. It's basically a round 3D shape which provides several key functions in 3D felting. First of all, it acts as a mould or a former to create a spherical 3D shape in felt. So by placing wool fibre around the ball, we can create a replica of the ball shape in felt. Secondly, it acts as a resist to create a hollow form with sides which won't felt together. So the ball literally resists or prevents the wool fibre from bonding together wherever the ball is placed in between areas of fibre. Thirdly, the ball provides the means to agitate the wool fibre, which is a key stage in the wet felting process, by us being able to push around and bounce the ball when it's covered by fibre. So if you don't enjoy rolling felt in particular, this is a good alternative method. And finally, it can also be used as a finishing former to help stretch the finished felt to make it smooth and to set a rounded shape, which is especially useful for things like a bowl or a basket. Now, any type of ball will work as a felting ball, but ones which provide the smoothest wet felting experience are, like these, made of lightweight rubber. They inflate and deflate easily using a plug at the top, and they'll stretch to be firm and usable at a range of sizes. Now, the only producers of specific felting balls are the brilliant felting suppliers Living Felt, who are based in Texas in the US. They have the Big Bertha purple ball and the smaller green Little Bee ball, which between them cover a good mid-range of sizes to make things again like bags, bowls, baskets and hats. So if you're in the US, it'll be easy for you to get hold of one directly from them. And if you're outside the US, you can order one from my online shop here in the UK. So anywhere you are in the world, you've got a couple of options for getting hold of one. And I'll put the links to both in the description below this video. But of course, you don't have to use the same balls as these, although I'd recommend them. But if you want to go very big or very small with the project, then you're going to have to look for other sized balls. Now, I've repurposed lots of things, children's toy balls, even rugby balls, equally successfully, and exercise balls are a good option for large projects. So the main features of the felting balls and any others that you might end up looking out for are they're made of durable rubber, so they're thick enough to firmly hold their shape, to withstand being pushed and bounced around, and to be reusable. My first order for balls from Living Felt was back in 2014, so that's 10 years ago now, and I'm still using the same balls on workshops now, so they've certainly stood the test of time. They're also made of stretchy material, so they're firm enough to use at a range of sizes, and most rubber balls seem to offer a circumference variance of 10 to 15 centimetres or 4 to 6 inches. The surface of these balls is also slightly tacky or textured rubber as opposed to completely smooth, and that helps the wool fibre and materials grip to it a bit more successfully. They're also bounceable, which is important for the felting on a ball technique, and is why I wouldn't recommend balloons, which, although they're stretchy, they're not hardy and not very bounceable, or beach balls, again hardy but not stretchy and not bounceable. And these balls also inflate and deflate via an easily removable top plug as opposed to a valve which requires a specific pump attachment. Now, the felting balls come flat, they need to be inflated to use. They have a top plug which is very easy to use. You just need to avoid holding your inflated ball by the plug when you're using it, as there's a real danger of pulling it out once you've got a weight of fibre on the ball. Now, exercise balls also come with a top plug, so they're easy to inflate and use too, but you'll find that other types of balls are ones like a football, which have a valve opening, such as this small children's ball. So to inflate or deflate the ball, you need a special narrow metal valve attachment for your pump, which usually comes either with the ball or with the pump. When the valve is removed, the air stays inside the ball. And when you want to deflate it, you just put the valve into the hole without the pump and let the air out that way. Now this style is useful for felting in that there's no plug sticking out. However, I've found that with a lot of use, the valve starts to leak air, so longevity might become a bit of an issue. So let's talk a bit about inflating the balls. The felting balls come with a straw to inflate them by blowing into them, and it is possible to inflate the balls to a certain size in this way, but it's difficult. So I'd recommend using some kind of pump, hand pump, foot pump, bicycle pump, something like that. I use a small rechargeable handheld electric pump, which is designed to blow up sports or yoga balls, and that makes the job really easy. This one was about £25 on Amazon. I'll link it below to give you an idea, but there are lots out there. But before that, I used cheaper hand or foot pumps. They're just a bit more physical effort. But the important thing is about the pump's ability to exert some pressure to stretch the ball bigger. It's one thing just inflating the basic shape of the rubber ball, but to then stretch the rubber to increase the size, your pump is going to need some extra oomph. So if you're struggling, and let's face it, blowing up balls isn't something most of us are doing on a regular basis, unless you're a football coach. So if you're struggling and you find that you can't get your ball to stretch beyond a certain size, you might need to try a different pump. Now, if you don't want to buy one, then try borrowing a pump maybe. If you know someone who's a keen cyclist or someone who's involved with sports in particular, then they might be able to help you. And I'm no expert on pumps, but I wouldn't use something designed to blow up a car tyre, for instance, as you may not be able to control the pressure enough. Now, most pumps come with a few different nozzles, including possibly the valve versions as well, to choose from. So just find a nozzle which fits into the hole at the top of your felting ball. The felting balls and exercise balls have a relatively large hole. I haven't found a nozzle that's a perfect fit, but the holes are large enough for you to just hold the nozzle in place at the opening while you inflate it. Then once you've inflated it enough, quickly put the plug in to keep the air in. You don't need to force the plug all the way in, as then they can be a bit tricky to remove. So just push it in until it's firm and then remove it to deflate the ball. Now, I use the circumference size of the ball around the middle as the key starting measurement for the projects that I create. So you'll need a tape measure handy to check this. If you're having trouble getting the ball to the right size for a particular project, then what you're going to have to do is just estimate how big to inflate the ball, then put the plug in, then measure around the middle. And if the ball ends up too big, you can just let a little bit of the air out. If it's too small, you'll obviously need to inflate it some more. Air does escape really quickly from the top of the balls, so you'll need to have the plug or nozzle very close to the hole to enable you to quickly swap them over. So ideally, always go a bit bigger with inflating the ball, as it's much easier to then just deflate it a bit to the right size. And it also means that if you lose a bit of air when you're putting the plug in, then you should still be above the size that you need. So always go a little bit bigger. Once your ball is inflated, you might want to add some guidelines to your ball. You don't have to do this for simple projects, but I find it quite helpful to have an idea where the top, sides and bottom of the ball are, so that you can plan out where your embellishment materials are going to go, where your wool fibre colours will end up on your finished item, that sort of thing, and how big your top opening will be. So for that, you'll just need a permanent marker pen and a tape measure. I've developed some markings which I find useful for my projects, which you'll find either in my book or in my online courses. So I won't cover those here. The only other thing to think about is looking after your ball. There are a few aspects to this. First of all, the inflating size. Now, one of the great features of a rubber ball is that it's firm enough to use at a range of sizes. However, this does mean that when you're inflating a ball, it doesn't simply stop at the ideal or manufacturer's advised size. It'll keep going. So be aware that you might be pushing the ball beyond its limits by continuing to inflate it, even though it allows you to do it. Now, this has happened to me when I overinflated a ball to use as a finishing former overnight. It seemed fine, but when I returned the next day, I found it had burst. So I therefore recommend avoiding inflating too far beyond the manufacturer sizes advised when you buy the ball, or what I state in my projects. And you can generally tell actually when a ball is going beyond its capacity, because it loses its flexibility and it actually becomes quite hard. Now this one sounds obvious, but also avoid using sharp objects near the ball. I've only ever lost 2 balls, the first one due to the overinflating, and the second was when I thought I'd just try needle felting a small loose piece of fibre onto the felt with the ball still inside. Well, you can guess what happened there. So save all of your amending with scissors, sewing needle, felting needle until pre-felt stage when you've removed the ball. And finally, I thought about cleaning and storage. After use, and once you've completely deflated the ball, reinsert the top plug so it doesn't get lost, then give it a quick wipe with a dry towel. I tend to leave mine to air dry for an hour or 2 before putting them away and storing them out of direct sunlight. So I hope you found this useful if you're thinking of having a go at felting on a ball, or perhaps you've got a ball but have been struggling to get it inflated or been unsure if you're using it right. For more information and to get you started on felting on a ball projects, you might enjoy my book, Wet Felting, which has a whole chapter of felting on a ball, including projects to make a bowl, bag and basket. I've also got a couple of online courses to make felt bags and backpacks, as well as a new course due out in March 2024 to make felt hats and Nuno felted cowl scarves on a ball. Plus my new book, 3-Dimensional Wet Felting, which is all about felting on a ball, is out in May 2024, so really excited about that. So I hope there's lots of resources out there to help you, all of which I'll link in the description below this video. So thank you so much for watching. Do give this video a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay tuned for more wet felting content, and do leave me a comment below and let me know how you get on with felting on a ball. Happy felting, bye for now.